Hi, my name is Patrick, and I'm going to explain to you what I think Kylo Ren's name really means. Now, this isn't some cheesy leaked plot video. I think his name is actually an Easter egg, and I think that I've actually figured that Easter egg out. Now, if I'm right, this is going to be a gigantic spoiler for Star Wars Force Awakens. So if you're trying to avoid those things and trying to avoid even potential spoilers, then you're going to want to stop watching now. But if you want to know what I have to say and what I think this means, here we go. Alright, so I'm actually going to start by explaining Kylo Ren's last name first. Now we know Ren isn't actually his last name, it's more of a title, and it comes from this group, the Knights of Ren. And a lot of people have been talking online about the meaning of Ren and what that might mean. I have seen a lot of people who have already figured out that in Japanese, Ren means lotus. But this isn't getting a lot of traction online because I think most people kind of looking at this and going, you know what, lotus is a really pretty flower, and we're talking about a group of knights from the dark side. They probably didn't name themselves after a flower. So a lot of people are just kind of letting that go. But here's the very, very, very important thing that I think almost everyone's missing. I haven't seen this online at all. This is not the first time that a character in the Star Wars universe has had a name that means lotus. So there has been one other character whose name means lotus, but it wasn't in Japanese, it was in Sanskrit, and that was Padme. Padme's name means lotus. And I think this, as you might imagine, is a pretty important fact. Darth Vader's wife and the mother of Luke and Leia is a pretty central character in the Star Wars universe, and so the fact that her name also means lotus is pretty important. So if Ren means lotus and Padme means lotus, then by the transitive property, Ren means Padme. And so when we talk about the Knights of Ren, we're also talking about the Knights of Padme. I think this could be a group that Darth Vader started, and maybe they were tasked with still trying to reach out to Padme. Maybe the point of them is to figure out how to use the dark side to get back in touch with someone who's died that isn't strong in the Force and can't do what we see Obi-Wan doing. And so maybe that was their point. Maybe that's why they were non-violent to begin with. That could also tie into the fact that they're kind of in honor of Padme, and that was something that Darth Vader started. But I think that the fact that Ren and Padme both mean lotus is an incredibly, incredibly important fact. And I think that's a huge key to understanding Kylo Ren's name. Alright, so what about Kylo? Well, if you look online, you can find that everybody seems to be grasping at straws on this one. There doesn't seem to be a strong lead. And to me, that in and of itself was a clue. The information seems to be hidden, the meaning seems to be hidden, and so I started to think about, well, what if it's a cipher? What if it's actually an encrypted message of some sort that contains the meaning? Now, I realize how intense that sounds. That's what one of my buddies told me when I mentioned it to him. But the more I've looked into it, the more I think I might be onto something. This is definitely the kind of thing that J.J. Abrams is familiar with, and definitely not something I would put past the maker of Lost. So I started to look into this and figured if it's a cipher, the most likely that probably got used would be a Vigenère cipher. Now, if you want to know more about this, you can Google it and read about it. The most important thing that you need to understand is that for a Vigenère cipher, in order to decode the message, you actually need a keyword. Now, there hasn't been anything that's come from J.J. Abrams that's kind of hinted at what a keyword would be, or even that this is a cipher or an encrypted message. So as I started to think about that, I realized if there's a keyword, it must be just blatantly obvious. And if we're trying to figure out who Kylo is, then maybe the keyword is a reference to another character or to a family. So I went and found a Vigenère cipher decoder. There are a bunch of them online, and so you can recreate this really easily. You don't have to understand how it works to be able to do it. and I put in Kylo as the encrypted text, and I used Skywalker as my key. And so when you put in Kylo as the encrypted text, and you try and decode it using Skywalker as your key, it turns out you get the message, sons. Now the fact that this is a word at all is a pretty big deal. If you go and mess around with one of these decoders much, you'll see that almost all of the time what you get back is absolute and total nonsense. It's just a jumbling of letters. So the fact that this is a word is a big deal. The fact that this word is a family relationship also seems pretty important. So Skywalker is the key word, and so I think that's pretty clear evidence that Kylo Ren is in fact a Skywalker, and so this message is sons. Now most people think that Kylo is either the son of Luke or the son of Han and Leia, and I actually don't think that's what's going on here. Remember, his name is Kylo Ren, and Ren means Padme. So I think if you put this together, I think what his name really could mean is son of Padme. I think that's what's going on. Now, I know that sounds crazy that he would be Padme's son. She died way, way, way before this 30-year-old character could have been born. I don't think that he is necessarily a son of Vader and Padme in the same natural way that Luke and Leia are. But if you think about it, the Emperor was obsessed with the Skywalker family. He wanted Luke to strike down Anakin Vader to be his new apprentice. And so he knew how powerful the Skywalkers were. This was an empire that created an entire army of genetic clones. So the idea that maybe they take a little bit of DNA from Vader and a little bit of DNA from a sample maybe they have of Padme and use that to engineer another Skywalker offspring, well, that is actually pretty reasonable in this kind of story. That's something that is pretty believable that could have happened in this scenario, and I think that's probably more in line with what actually happened. But that would make him the son of Vader, and it would actually make him Luke and Leia's brother, not one of their sons. And I think that's what's going on here, and I think that's why it's kind of so hard to figure out, because it kind of seems unreasonable until you really start to think about, well, what could that mean? Now the fact that he is Vader's son would really explain why he's so obsessed with him. He's trying to emulate his father and his garb and what he does. It also would explain why he is so obsessed with that blue lightsaber. It's his birthright in his mind, and so that's something that he feels like he deserves. He may not actually realize that he's a Skywalker or something to that effect. He may not realize that Luke is his brother. We've heard that voiceover from Luke where he says that the Force is strong in his family, and he has it, and his dad has it, and his sister have it, and you have it. It kind of takes what he said to his sister in Return of the Jedi one step further to somebody else. Maybe he's talking to Kylo Ren. Maybe that is a big reveal moment in The Force Awakens where Kylo realizes he's actually related to Luke, and maybe the audience learns who Kylo Ren really is, that he's a part of this family. I think that has a lot to do with it. That Kylo is part of this family, and he views his dad, Darth Vader, as the hero, and that he views the Rebel Alliance and the Jedi who destroyed what his dad built and struck his dad down as the bad guys. It kind of works with that complex character they've been talking about, where he views himself as the hero, and you can see how if he grew up believing that his dad was this great leader and that his dad had been taken down by this Rebel Alliance and the Jedi, why he would think that they're the bad guys and that his dad was the good guy. I mean, that actually makes logical sense. It also explains why those Knights of Ren, who maybe were formed by Vader, would take him in and that he would become a part of that. They were kind of dedicated to his mother in some way. And it also explains how this 30-year-old is kind of ascended the ranks pretty quickly, the First Order, to become second in line. If he's Vader's son, then he kind of has that lineage and probably is already has that reputation and is believed to be pretty strong in the Force and could ascend to that rank pretty quickly. So I think the most likely scenario, based on what his name seems to mean, is that he's actually the son of Vader and Padme, and however that actually happened, that he's Luke and Leia's brother, and that's who he is, and that's what his name means. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section. I'm looking forward to reading what y'all say. I think it's pretty interesting theory in the least, and we'll know in a couple months whether or not it's correct. But looking at that with the cipher and that Padme and Ren both mean lotus, and maybe those are exchanging for one another, I think that could very well be the Easter egg that is Kylo Ren's name. And so looking forward to hearing from you, and looking forward to seeing the movie soon. All right, thanks.